Amin El Hassan was delighted here right before we came on because he's saying he's playing the greatest Patino game ever played. He should be delighted about nothing. He's got a prediction that echoes across the eternities. Since he said that he had no confidence the Milwaukee Bucks could win a single game in this series, they've won the championship. That was moving at the end, seeing Giannis on the court crying. Were you moved? Mike Ryan, you who were critical of this series before it started, were you moved seeing Giannis out there weeping?
Giannis had one of the greatest all-time performances in finals history. This series obviously really wasn't my bag. It also wasn't your bag, Dan, but you have since distanced yourself and projected all of that on me. But yeah, I'm cool. They won a championship, and the games were competitive over the last few stretch of games. I don't think that this is any sort of dynasty. I'm sure that conversation is going to start up. I think that this might be a transitional champion. It was a weird year, but Milwaukee did the best out of all the teams, and they're winning the championship, and it's good for them.
Okay, that's the kind of enthusiasm that's being felt throughout Milwaukee. I mean, the thing about what you saw tonight that I thought was interesting is that it doesn't have to be anymore about his teammates. Drew Holiday threw another one of those 4 for 20s up there. Bobby Portis was the second leading scorer for most of the game. This was Giannis won the championship emphatically, where we can go back and say this is his, the same way that Kawhi Leonard won it in Toronto.
First of all, Toby Bailey's not walking through that door, nor is William Bedford. Second of all,
it's true.
Dan, you're absolutely right. This wasn't a superstar getting bailed out by his stars. This is one of the most unequivocal finals MVPs I can remember. He did it in spite of their failures in this elimination game, and he did it front to end, and he did it most importantly in the area that people said he wasn't good at the free throw line. For him to go to the free throw line that many times and make it so much that at some point the Suns said, yeah, forget about fouling. They literally stopped intentionally fouling him because he was just making them all. It is spectacular, but what makes it more spectacular, Dan, is remembering that a scant 2.5 weeks ago, this guy's knee looked like a flamingo's. It was bent the wrong way. And for most people, that would have been the end of their season, the end of their 2021. And for this guy, he goes on to post numbers that have only been done by Shaq before in NBA history. I don't know what else to say. This is one of the great finals performances. Also, Cotton Fitzsimmons is not walking through that door.
Tom,
Giannis's game 6 game score. You bottle up all of those box score numbers into one number. His game score was 42.0, the most in a finals clincher ever.
I gotta say, I think that him scoring 50 is more impressive. It sounds more impressive than a game score of 42.
Yeah.
Arguably.
I agree.
Arguably.
I concur.
But plenty of people have done 50, at least 7.
Right.
But a 50 and then 12 and 5 blocks or whatever it was, I don't think it really compares to the minutes that this guy put up tonight. Frank Kaminsky had an amazing 0 plus minus in 11 minutes tonight. Just want to give a shout out to Frank Kaminsky giving some very even minutes there for the Phoenix Suns. Giannis, here's the thing. Giannis, I don't know how people want to talk about the home versus the away stuff, but he looked so comfortable at the free throw line on the home floor. It reminded me of looking up his home away splits in this postseason since the Atlanta series began. At home, shooting 77%, and on the road, when people are yelling 1, 2, 3, 49%. So maybe this is a home road thing. He's just more comfortable at home. He doesn't have the yips at home. He's more comfortable, and you saw it tonight.
Zach, he had 30-something points in the paint after they were taking a whole bunch of threes and being far away from the basket early in the game. They did a couple of things in this one, but him because Phoenix stopped being able to shoot threes. You guys pointed this out to me in the last game when they shot like 68% from three. You guys were saying, yeah, but they're not able to get as many threes as they'd like to take. They're getting it cut in half. Budenholzer gets mocked for no adjustments, but Phoenix stopped being able to get the threes that they had feasted on all season.
Yeah, I mean, in the words of James Harden, I wish I could be 7 feet tall and just run and dunk. Right? Like that's essentially what Giannis did, and yet no one can stop it because the Suns, I thought, look, there's only so much they can do because there's such a size disadvantage. Like the fact that you have to put Jay Crowder on Brook Lopez means that at any time Brook Lopez wants to go in there for an offensive rebound, it takes a village to rebound that. So if you want to try to stop Giannis at all, you're still being left vulnerable on the weak side by guys crashing in, and they did a horrible job of building a wall against him. Like they just there was nothing there. And to the Bucks' credit, like they attacked pretty quickly whenever Giannis had the ball. Like he didn't do a whole lot of like holding the ball, standing around. And so if he attacks quickly and he's bigger and stronger than everybody and he's forceful and then gets to the free throw line and makes damn near every free throw, there's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I really don't.
You guys notice what's Phoenix supposed to do when they do, okay, Giannis, you got Chris Paul, and Drew, you got Booker, and Booker was having a hard time just with the strength of Drew Holiday.
I mean, you know what they call him, Dan? He's the mayor of Clamp City.
You know what? Let's bring in somebody who's got good nicknames. We got a surprise guest here for the audience. He calls him the alphabet. Look at that. Look at that.
There we are. That's right. Yeah. I tell you, we got a hell of a game. That was the alphabet show tonight. 50 points. Gosh.
No, his game score is 42.
Okay, well, 42. He was
no. Way to go, Tom. Way to go. Your game score. You realize how lame that is, bringing it game score.
Hey, Poppy loved it. I got to say.
Yeah, sure. I love it. Sure.
Poppy, tell us what you saw tonight. Well, first of all, I want you to try. You call him the alphabet because I don't believe you can pronounce his actual last name. You want to give it a shot? You want to give the Greek freak's last name a shot?
Antetokounmpo.
Better than Stugas. That's better than Stugas.
I've heard worse. Right.
What did you think tonight, Poppy? Who were you?
I tell you, the one that was disappointed for me was Devin Booker. The guy only scored 4 points in the first half of the game. You can't go into an elimination game and scoring 4 points.
You guys got that? You got a counter? Right. Does anyone got a counter on that?
Yeah, I was surprised that the Suns stay so close with Devin Booker only scoring 4 points. I don't know what happened there, but the coach has to make some adjustments when that happens.
That's right, the coach. It's not the mayor of Clamp City. It's what happened there. Somebody explain to me what happened there. What happened to Devin Booker? How do you go from? It's hard. One of the things I guess you got to notice here is that Giannis is making scoring 40 and 50 points look a little easier than it is when you go from game to game and don't have rest. We saw Jimmy Butler in the finals last year has the big game, and then in the second game after that can't do it. Same thing happened to Booker. Yes, I mean
Darryl Strawberry Jr. is not walking through that door.
Fantastic. I have some analysis there. I think you saw the difference between Drew Holiday, not just because he's the mayor of Clamp City, but Drew Holiday being on him versus PJ Tucker, because PJ Tucker can get hit on these screens, right? And then as he's recovering to Devin Booker, he's not athletic enough and he's not tall enough or long enough to actually affect a shot. So everything for Devin Booker, even if PJ Tucker gets there, Booker's not worried about any of that stuff. And then with Drew Holiday, one, he doesn't get picked that well. Like it's really hard to screen him, so you don't get that separation. And then he's just as strong as Devin Booker. He's got long arms, he's got quick hands, he's got bear traps for hands. And then at that point, Booker, I don't know if he's afraid to score. I think he's afraid that he's not he doesn't have the comfort to get that shot off.
Hey, Poppy, I was just wondering. Hey, it's Tom here.
Yes,
how's it going? What do you think about Chris Paul? His first finals, he didn't really come up big here in this game, or he didn't win the title. What is your opinion of Chris Paul now at age 36?
Well, he should retire. That's right. You got to retire when you're ahead of the game. He made it to the finals. I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, what can I tell you?
You should turn down the $44 million player option for next season. Just retire is what you think you should do.
He got $44 million player option. Well, you know, then he just ride the bench more often. That's all.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow. My father wants to bench Chris Paul. Bobby, where are you joining us from? It looks like the haunted beyond.
Well, I'm here. We got a dark room here in our apartment in Miami Beach. I'm in the dark room.
This is very late for you, no?
Yeah, it's pretty late. What is it, 12 o'clock at night? Yeah, that's pretty late.
Yeah, you up to some fuckboy shit, Poppy? I mean, we got to give the people their pound of flesh. Now, they're coming at me. I feel like that one's a lot more subjective. I think people are in my mentions telling me, you did find it interesting. I don't really know what the comeback is for that. But you said that the Bucks would be lucky if they would win a game in this series, and then they won 4 straight to lift the Larry O'Brien trophy. So give the people what they want.
Well, first of all, Archie Goodwin ain't walking through that door. Let me just get that out in the clear. Second of all, I mean, like, look, here's the thing. Giannis turned into something that I didn't think he could turn into, given his physical condition, right? But at the same time, his physical condition, I think, forced Milwaukee to play him the way they should have been playing him all along, which was as a big, as a center. Dario Saric getting hurt meant that Phoenix was going small, which meant that Milwaukee was more leaning towards playing Giannis at the 5, which allowed them to play him like he was Shaq. And that's what he did. He dominated in a way that only Shaquille O'Neal has dominated in the NBA Finals. And the last part I'll say is, you know, fuck it, man. Like, what am I? I'm supposed to like account for Chris Paul all of a sudden just disappearing and finding out that
I just want you to admit that he's not hurt. It's not that he was hurt. I just want you to admit that. I don't care what the reason is. Just don't say, "Oh, he hurt his hand."
He had
so
26 points tonight.
He didn't play well tonight, Tom, don't box score.
But you're putting it. You're putting it on Chris Paul that they lost the series.
What was his game score?
Lower than 26 points.
But Zach, exactly. That's the rule. Zach, to answer your point, how they didn't guard him tonight, how they wasn't on him at all, and he still was throwing the ball around and making bad decisions and things like that. I still think he's hurt. I still think that wrist isn't right. I still think that impacted him. This was the game where he figured out, you know what? Maybe I need to shoot a little bit more than passing. But every time he tried to pass it or try to do something with it, it didn't work out well for him. So I'm sticking with Chris Paul got hurt. Dario Saric made the Suns go small, which made the Bucks play more small ball, which made Giannis Antetokounmpo play more like he should have been as opposed as a wing. And also, fuck it, I got it wrong. My bad. Once every 5 years, I'm allowed to get it wrong. Is that all right? Is that okay with y'all?
You didn't just get it wrong. You got it pretty spectacularly wrong. Poppy, what do you think about what he's saying there, that Chris Paul played a bad game?
Well, everybody knows that Chris Paul is a choker. I mean, everybody knows that. Now he made it to the finals after 55 years of playing in the NBA, which is good. That's an improvement for him. Now he can relax and he can tell his grandkids that I'm a hero now. After 55 years of playing in the NBA, I made it to the finals. No matter whether he wins or loses, the point is he got to make it to the finals. So he made it to the finals.
Let's let my father go to sleep here. So it's very late at night. Thank you,
So
Poppy.
jealous.
All right, take care. It was nice talking to you guys.
Thanks, Poppy.
I want a correction, Mike Ryan. You say that I put this on you. I'm not the one who called this the worst finals ever. I never did that. You did that. You took it out of that.
I did, and I immediately on the next show I retracted it, but the internet's forever. I said it was just the least interesting finals in my lifetime. I'm gonna hold true to that. I still don't think it was that interesting, and I think these two teams. Look, it was a weird NBA season. Ultimately, Milwaukee's there at the end, but they got lucky. And I'm not going to say Milwaukee was most lucky that they ran into another team that hadn't been there either, because they got pretty lucky in that Nets series. Those were massive injuries, and that series was clearly headed in a different direction. And then in game 7, they also got lucky. But can we talk about this first half, which was some of the worst basketball we've seen on this stage? Like, those weren't performances that were worthy of an elimination game. If they ran into Pop Spurs, they're in the showers by halftime. I think they kind of got lucky that they ran into each other here in the finals. They got a championship. Are they more like the Raptors and the Mavs, or is this the beginning of something else because they have someone committed to the city? We'll see.
Mike, I'm not gonna let you sit alone on that island. It wasn't entertainment, right? Like, it wasn't.
What?
Look, game 1, blowout. Game 2, blowout. Game 3, blowout. Game 4, sloppy ass game. Game 5, awesome. Game 6, sloppy ass game. It wasn't overall an entertaining series. And I think Mike's right. Mike said something in the group chat where he said, if you had either of these teams, Suns or the Bucks, play against any number of champions we've had in the past, they would have got slapped around because a level of just carelessness with the ball, lack of kind of poise under pressure. Some of the Devin Booker foul that he had at the end, that's the second time in a clutch game where he's giving away a dumb foul. Bobby Portis high stepping like he's goddamn Deion Sanders. Like, all that shit is like, that doesn't fly if you're playing the Spurs or the Heat or the Warriors or the Cavs or the Raptors or the Lakers last year or whoever the hell won before, the Dallas Mavericks here. Like, all those teams were execution teams.
Zach,
and these guys out here.
Your mouth was hanging open when he got.
No, it means right. This is the first clinching finals game that's ever had a mistake or a technical foul before. So that was historic. Are you out of your fucking mind? Game 4 was great. Game 5 was great. Game 6, Giannis went for 50. 50
he
in
was
a closeout
great.
game.
He was great.
He was
great.
No,
Zach,
the game was great. It doesn't matter. He transcended the game. He was great. He was historic. Nobody goes for 50. If anybody else does this, we're going crazy. We're throwing a parade. We don't like it because there's like 18,000 variants outside that arena right now. That's why you don't like it.
And I'm actually closer to Zach, even though you tried to come to my aid. I wasn't out here arguing that the games weren't good. The last couple of games were competitive down the stretch, and Zach is absolutely right. The storyline here is Giannis. It just wasn't my bag.
I see what's happening here. Mike has seen an opportunity to shed this shit and throw it on top of me.
Yes.
Right.
He's like, here, hold the pile of dog shit that's on fire. I mean,
that's a fifth straight loss for Amin after saying the Bucks are done.
I want to get some numbers from Tom, but before I do, Dan started the show going already to like the place that a writer would, which is like Giannis hugging his family. Giannis is obviously the story here, but if you were to write an article on this series, if you were going to make it interesting to the masses, that's a story there, right, Dan?
It was really cool to see the story arc of that guy was so close to leaving. You see that Lillard now is in a space where he is frustrated. He was so close to leaving. The organization did everything they could to support him. They traded a mortgaged future. You saw how excited that city is. You saw that city hasn't had that feel of excellence. What are we talking about? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is what we're talking about? Like the pre-Lakers, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is when that city has been starved for that. So they wait for half a century. And yeah, at the end of it, when they've got 4 times capacity outside, if you can ignore that it's a super spreader event, none of those people were wearing masks in the middle of it, as that city's going crazy because that guy puts up half 100. He's looking around for his family and then just sits there and weeps in a way that I don't know how many of these guys you've seen with these emotional moments where, I mean, Michael Jordan's the one that I remember after his dad died. I thought when LeBron lost to Dallas, when he finally won, because he was, so broken after losing to Dallas, I thought he'd break down on the court. That didn't happen until he won it for Cleveland. But yeah, when a guy that's like that, all muscled armor, breaks down because he cares so much, and for all the complaints that you have about professional sports and the money of professional sports, go ahead and doubt how much that dude cares about what he does for a living.
Also, Pat Burke ain't walking through that door.
True. I want to ask you guys, when Giannis wins final MVP this year, that means he has 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, an All-Star MVP.
Which submarine are you in right now? What happened to your
I
microphone?
don't know what's going on.
Why is it always something with you?
He said he had Jeff Bezos' internet connection today.
What?
He was going to get to something interesting, and it was so distracting.
Unfortunately, sending it via Morse code,
Is that better
so we
now?
can't get it anytime soon.
Yes,
There we
it's
go. Yeah.
Much
Okay.
better.
All right. Let me retry that. Giannis Antetokounmpo now has 2 MVPs, a Finals MVP, an All-Star MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year award,
Star MVP.
a Most Improved Player of the Year award. That's 5 award belts.
Maybe go the other way next time. Build up. Like ending it with All-Star MVP and Most Improved Player.
Rookie sophomore.
He made
game.
all rookie second team.
He also averaged 9 points a game in his rookie season.
Sixth man of the year in the 3rd Greek league.
Tom, we go to you for numerical quantification that offers us perspective, and you've given us 42 game score and all-star MVP.
Yeah. I mean, how many All-Star MVPs do you have, Dan?
and a bad microphone. And
It's better now, though, right?
Let me ask you. I got a question.
Tom, hold on. Tom.
What?
Jamal Crawford ain't walking through that door.
Okay.
Also
All
scored
right,
50.
fine. How about this? 2 MVPs, 1 Finals MVP before they turned 27 years old. How many players have done that in NBA history?
What's going on with your microphone, man?
Yeah.
For real.
How is this happening?
Did you put it in water? Did it get wet? I think you should put the microphone in rice. Ashley Nicole Moss really got my hopes up over the last offseason, and I just want to say why'd you do that to me? Because the Milwaukee Bucks now are the dream scenario in the modern NBA. The Spurs did it in that player empowerment era, but they did it with pieces from a previous era. This is get a new arena, build around the superstar. He signs the extension. He says you go all in on parts that other teams that might be considered elite don't go after, and PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday. You give up more because you have to, because you're Milwaukee, and then it works out for you. They are the envy of all the other mid-market NBA teams right now, Zach.
I have a text message from a Western Conference executive. For the record, I like the mayor of Clamp City as a nickname. All right, so everyone else can eat a big bag of shit. How about that? I like the mayor of Clamp City.
Can you guys explain to me the technicality of how it is that they managed to keep a team? We were marveling after 2 games. We were saying in the first quarter of game 3, are they really going to do this? Brook Lopez is going to back up, and they're going to keep letting him take all the mid-range jumpers. They're going to keep letting the Phoenix Suns have 10 passes per possession. And then all of a sudden, no more threes. Like you mentioned some of this, but like it's a pretty big deal that the Phoenix Suns all of a sudden couldn't score from the perimeter, and that in the modern age and the evolution of the sport where we've been talking about threes, the champion was just doing it 2 at a time when nobody on his team could do anything.
Yeah, I think part of that, at least from a technical aspect, is we still saw some drop coverage, but the drop was higher on the court. So instead of meeting them in the lane, you're up around the free throw line. So as Chris Paul is trying to snake back into the middle of the floor to go find his elbow jumper, or Devin Booker's trying to snake back into the middle of the floor, they don't have all that open space. And so if the defense doesn't have to collapse because a guy's open, you can't really kick it to a shooter. And so they were able to contain that a lot better. Also, I thought Milwaukee just did a better job of fighting through screens. And then maybe because part of it, I'd have to go back and watch a little bit more, but maybe part of it was because the Suns were playing so small, it's kind of hard to set better screens with small guys.
I have a hard time. I mean, maybe you can help explain it for me. I have a hard time when I'm watching defense. I mean, some of the guys are obvious, but when I'm watching the smaller players play defense, I have a hard time sometimes making a distinction between is this guy playing great defense and is this guy not. but rarely is it as overt as PJ Tucker is brought in for his defense tenacity. And when he was on somebody, it wasn't the same as when Drew Holiday was on somebody. Like it was overt and obvious in a way where we can't usually measure how defense looks, but that was obvious.
Yeah, I think PJ is physical, right? PJ is much more grabby, holdy, make your life uncomfortable from a meet you at the spot and hit you.
Mhm.
Drew, quick hands, quick feet, really smart, great timing. So I think those are the two really different styles. PJ, I thought was really effective in the last 3 games on Devin Booker because he's
I
physical, he
disagree.
crowds up on him. I thought because here's the thing about the Suns. Chris Paul is the one that makes everything happen, right? If Devin Booker's having the time of his life, but Chris Paul is not involved, they do a lot worse than when Chris Paul is the one involved and Devin Booker is, trying to get his going. And so I thought that strategically was so much better for them to have Tucker on Booker. But the other part of it is, I think PJ is really locked in on who he's guarding. His help defense isn't great. Holiday gives you a little bit of a mix of I'm on my guy, I'm crowding, moving my feet, quick hands, all that stuff, but that doesn't absolve me from being in help defense. And ultimately, help defense is what wins the day. Not like this whole I'm locking my man up, you lock your man up, because no one's going to sit around and just focus on one guy the whole game.
I think
also Taylor Griffin ain't walking through that door.
I think also what happened in that game and what happened the last couple games is I think the Phoenix Suns get drunk on their own ISOs. You look at their stats tonight, 14 assists for the team on 38 field goals. That's insane. That's insanely low for the Phoenix Suns. A lot of that is just they put the blinders on and they try to go one-on-one. Devin Booker, of course, in the last second of that game 5, everyone is focusing on that. But I think that is illustrative of the Phoenix Suns game plan over the last couple games is not moving the ball around and really focusing on early in the game pick and roll actions, but a lot of it just a lot of ISO and not trusting teammates. So I think a lot of this is just Phoenix's game plan is they were focusing on one-on-one basketball. Chris Paul and Devin Booker, I don't think we're looking for other players as much as they were in the first 2 games, and it came back to bite them.
This was a Bucks team that was doubted in every series they played this postseason. Even that first game that they beat Miami in overtime.
I remember. There's where you can make fun of me. The very first game of these playoffs, I'm like, well, how good can the Bucks actually feel about this?
Mm-hmm.
I thought the same thing, and turns out pretty good.
Yeah,
turns out pretty good. Yeah, but that first game, like I walked away thinking, well, I think Miami can play so much better, and I didn't really think the Bucks like showed much in terms of sustainability. And then the rest of that series was, my God, it was so terrible for the Heat and so good for the Bucks. But I think that all right, the Kevin Durant shoe size, right? Like, yes, that's a bit of luck, like. Bud not doubling him at any point on these clutch situations, and then the Nets just run out of steam. Like the Trae Young footstep on the referee, like, yeah, that's some good luck, but also like Giannis damn near blew out his knee, right? And the fact that they still came back and won that series is pretty impressive. And Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday played great in those moments, and so I think that like everything takes luck. Like there's not really a champion other than maybe the Warriors with Kevin Durant, where you look at it and go like, well, that team just steamrolled everything. They didn't have any luck. Like there's a lot of luck in most champions, as Thomas pointed out. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year, Bam Adebayo, Goran Dragic. I mean, Mike Ryan's nodding his head vociferously here about how luck played a role in last year's finals too. And also, yes, the last 2 games of the Miami series last year with an ankle injury. So let's not forget that last year the Milwaukee Bucks were on the wrong side of the luck stuff too. Yes, the series was out of hand a little bit before that, but still, that adds to the whole story of Giannis Antetokounmpo and the revenge that he had last year after the performance last year and the year before that to come out and basically have the best final series of all time. statistically, he doesn't have many players who are above him on that list. It's an incredible story.
Yo, let me just say right now. So earlier in the night, one of my buddies tweeted that Matt Janning ain't walking through that door. Matt Janning was a kid who played at Northeastern, right? Came to summer league with us in 2010, got invited to training camp, played really well, got cut because the general manager that year was a fucking moron, right? Really good player. Went on to have a great career in Europe. Matt Janning just tweeted, wow, never imagined my day in Patino game would come. I'm so right. I remember I worked with that kid and shit, man. So it's like I remember him like proposing to his fiance, man. And these are the moments, guys. These are the moments that really make it all worthwhile. Also, Jahadi White ain't walking through that door.
Well, one, Jermaine O'Neal's not walking through that door, right? Did we get to that already?
Yeah, we got to that one, but it's all right. Yeah.
I also I love that story from Amin because it almost like makes you forget that he said the Bucks weren't going to win a game in this series, and then they won the championship in convincing fashion. It almost makes you forget that.
What if I told you guys? What if I told you guys that the conspiracy theory is that I knew the Bucks were going to win all along, and I just didn't want the Suns to win, but I didn't want to seem like the guy who was salty about the Suns. So like I said, oh yeah, the Suns are going to win. And every game I pick Suns. Every single game of the series,
it's a prediction that will echo across the eternities.
Yeah.
As a sports prediction.
I'm telling you,
you didn't
Dan,
want the Warriors to win in 2016.
Dan, I'm telling you, honest to God, my biggest regret is that it wasn't eloquent. It was just a kind of blah. They're not going to win another game. The LeBron one.
So it's like the life stream.
I take pride in what? Fuck you. All right. I take pride in the LeBron one.
Wow.
Yeah, this guy. Get out of here. Don't you have a column to write?
No, I don't actually. I've got my power rankings set for theathletic.com where you can find the best coverage of sports on the internet, Mike.
I can't wait to read the first 3 sentences of them.
And then you know what I love about the Athletic? How it fades. Like like Back to the Future, baby. Like that is going away.
What's that last sentence? First 3.5 sentences.
So, anyways, as I was saying, like the 2016 one, it was, I thought, like some of my greatest verbiage strung together ever. Forget about whether I was right or wrong. Just the way I eviscerated them. I said, they're too slow. They're not smart enough. I went down the line and said, LeBron is never, he needs to transition to the next stage of his life where he's a guy that helps other guys win. He's not the guy anymore. It was like, and by the way, Warriors going up 3-1 in that series, I looked like Sugar Shane Mosley in his prime. 7 arms coming out. And then everything collapsed. That's what made it great, right? Not only was I wrong, but I was so effusive in how wrong I was that it kind of compiled. This one was kind of like a lazy Xerox of a trace of the, Bucks ain't gonna win another game. I'd be surprised.
This is not convincing whatsoever.
Just real quick, those 3 games, those final 3 games for LeBron, 36, 12, and 10.
No, I know he did well. Yeah. I'm aware.
You weren't exactly eloquent there either. I mean,
having had a second crack at it, and it's the second time you've told us that your greatest regret is that you didn't get it more eloquent. You have now failed 3 times to make it any better, and furthermore, it's been like shit sliding down a mountaintop. It keeps getting worse, and people just want you to say, you know what? I'm an idiot. I'm a fool. This is going to haunt me the rest of my life. Instead, what you're saying is, I wish I had chosen my words slightly differently.
Yeah, pretty much, Dan. Like, I don't regret what I say. I never regret what I say. I just regret the way I said it.
That's a scary thought.
In 2016, I didn't regret the way I said it either. I love the way I said it. 2016 was perfect. As far as I'm concerned, that shit was perfect.
You know what? To be fair to you, there's nothing that would have changed this series. But to be fair to you, in 2016, if Harrison Barnes just hit an open jumper every once in a while, you would have been
just one.
Yeah, you would have been.
Just make a shot. Hey, Steve Kerr. Here's an idea. 3 guys have a negative plus minus going into the 4th quarter of Game 7. Let's not play any of them instead of playing all 3 of them at the same time. Anderson Varejao, Festus Ezeli, and Harrison Barnes. Just throwing it out there. But it's my fault. I like how people, by the way, Bucks, why y'all mad at me? Or Suns fans are mad. Why are y'all mad at me? I didn't play. I didn't coach. I didn't make any decisions.
You said they were going to get swept. You said they were going to get swept.
But I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with it.
Is that a Rutgers shirt? What is that?
What?
Is that a Rutgers?
Is that the
I rated R?
R?
It's yeah. This is to let everybody know that there will be adult language in this live stream.
I just want to talk more about Frank Kaminsky. Can we do that?
I love the back and
He
forth.
was stealing passes out there.
Did
you see that?
Portis at the height of the sport. Kaminsky against Portis.
Yes. Yes, it was amazing. Kaminsky on fast breaks was stealing passes from people in the NBA Finals. He was dusted off, and he got brought in and was just laying it up over everybody. It was an incredible performance from Frank Kaminsky. Didn't see that happening. Also, didn't see Amin trying to, pump himself up. The fact that Amin El Hassan sitting here after Game 6, after Giannis puts up 50 points in Game 6 with a 42-game score, Amin is trying to get more people to look at his take and watch his video for how bad it was. I see what you're doing, Amin. You're just trying to get more clicks on your videos so you can pump up your own stats. That's what you're doing.
I'm saying. All I'm trying to let people know is that Richie Fromm ain't walking through that door. Rex Chapman ain't walking through that door. And also, no, I already did that one.
I thought you had better ones before we came on. Tom Gugliotta. There were funny names. What were some of
you were going to be more eloquent?
You don't like Richie Fromm? That's not a funny name for you?
Paul McPherson?
Yeah. Paul McPherson got named by my guy. Michael.
All I'm
Hall.
hearing is that Amin wants to be eloquent Stugotz. That's like, as long as he's terribly wrong, but he's eloquent, he's fine with that. Totally fine with that.
I mean, that's the name of the game, right? Like everyone has.
So you get the money. That's.
I mean, shit. You want to argue? I me and him share an agent, by the way. I don't know if you guys know that. Like, I know how Stugotz is doing. He's doing very well for himself.
There's a good chance he's getting 10% of your deal.
I know he's getting a cut of my cameo money. Horatio Llamas, you like that one, Dan?
Horatio Llamas Gray.
Yeah.
This was a season that tested bodies in a unique way. Quicker turnarounds. The pandemic protocols were a nightmare if you talk to anybody in the league. So it kind of makes sense that in a war of attrition, the most evolved human being we've maybe ever seen in that sport is the person conquering all at the end. Does this mark a stylistic change in the NBA? Because kids were growing up now trying to shoot from half court like Trae Young and Steph Curry. They're going to have a harder time replicating what it is Giannis does because we've never really seen it before, Dan.
Who can do that? Who in the league, who coming through the league, who can grow into something doing that around the rim where you're just like, look, he's going to get 25 or 30 and he's going to do it all in the paint and you're not going to be able to do anything about it because he's too strong and he's going to do a spin move and he's just going to keep laying it in on you.
I'm going to say something that's going to toe a line here, but I don't want anyone to misconstrue what I'm saying.
Let me get a little extra here before you do this.
I think the greatest thing Giannis brings to the table is something that LeBron also brings to the table. Beyond their greatness, indestructibility. The idea of my best player doesn't get hurt. That's the game changer. That's the difference maker. The idea that his knee could look like that 2.5 weeks ago and he can win finals MVP in resounding fashion. Not like, the best of a bad crop. Dude dominated on a historic level. The only person I can think of with that level of indestructibility, never gets hurt, is Giannis. Well, I guess Michael Jordan falls in that camp as well. Jordan had the broken foot early in his career, and then after that, he never got hurt.
Well, because he retired when he got tired. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah, let's get some heat on Tommy here. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm going to retire because I'm emotionally spent. I have nothing left to prove. Like, imagine if LeBron did that in his prime, just like, peace out, I'm good. Like, the idea that Michael Jordan didn't tire
So wait a minute.
insane.
You're coming in here with your crappy internet and your basketball mime motif, and you are saying to yourself, well, I envy all the attention Amin is getting for his prediction. I'm going to go with Michael Jordan's a tired quitter.
What, do you have a counter to that? You're just making fun of the take without countering?
Jay Humphrey's not walking through that door, Tom.
Michael Jordan is a tired quitter. I need to make fun of that?
I mean, the guy just left the sport because what? He was emotionally and physically spent. He had nothing left to prove. But yet LeBron James, like, because he lost a bunch of, finals games, we're going to say he's not as good as Michael Jordan.
His dad died. His dad was murdered.
That is true. I'm not going to deny that.
I mean, that would be a tough thing to deny.
That's a tough one.
That's a toughie.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that
Tom, just
side of
name
things.
More game scores. What was Cameron Payne's game score tonight? Let's get you out of this.
Well, Frank Kaminsky. Let's talk about that real quick. Frank Kaminsky.
Again with Kaminsky.
Here's the thing. Frank Kaminsky game score 41.5. It's crazy. It's right up there with Giannis.
Goes to play baseball when he I feel like we're just gonna excuse that as like, oh, it was really cool. Like he got to go like do something. Yeah, LeBron James is playing amazing basketball at age 45 still and hasn't taken a year off.
His dad was murdered. Like you're gonna double down on that and just make it emotionally drained?
I think a lot of it. I mean, he did it twice. It's not like it happened twice. I feel like this is a losing situation here.
That's the stat of the day right now. Just one murder, not two, of the same person. Good Lord, Tom.
It's too soon.
Tom, maybe see if you can get that microphone to stop working for a bit.
Tom, I'll help you out, man. Brian Skinner ain't walking through that door.
Marco Milic?
Marco Milic has been named, but I'll give it to you. Marco Milic ain't walking through that door.
Zarko Kabarkaba?
Zarko Chabarkaba also got named.
That's a good one.
That is a good name. Look at that. You got it a little deeper into the liquor, and all of a sudden,
now the Eastern Europeans coming out of me.
Dan, is your mind already going to how is this good for Aaron Rodgers? Because now a lot of that bad publicity is off of his plate, because that's not going to be the headline in the sports page. Wisconsin as a new sports hero.
We're going to have the guy who is loyal to the city and stays there and brings championships with his excellence, and they can fall in love with a new form of excellence here. I was surprised. I don't know why I'm still surprised by Stugatz's takes, but what he was doing to Aaron Rodgers today. Why are we talking about Aaron Rodgers again? I don't think this is.
We're just trying to get off of not allowing a murder to exist. That's what we're trying to do right now.
It's because Utah Tabusi is not walking through that door.
What was that dude's name? Cesare Trebansky or something like that?
Cesare.
Yeah, Cesare, same thing.
Also Maciek Lampe.
Oh, I remember. Draft legend.
Draft legend.
Yeah.
Knicks fans went nuts. He went 30th overall, and they acted like they got the number 1 overall pick. Milt Palacio.
The Bucks might find themselves this deep next year, but the Suns are a little trickier. They have a decision to make with that Chris Paul contract. You could look at all these. Did Tom just do a jumper move on me right now?
It's like Gothica. Like that's how he's moving right now.
It is a file.
It is a file.
Yeah. Where did the Suns go from here? I mean, you were a former front office insider for the Phoenix Suns. You know that team quite well. What direction do they go in? Do they let this ride out?
Well, Louis Amundsen's not walking through that door, but I think they're at an interesting juncture here, Mike, because they've got DeAndre Ayton up for an extension this summer. They've got Mikal Bridges up for an extension this summer. 2 very, very important pieces to their current and also to their future. But the biggest problem is Chris Paul has the ability to opt out and become a free agent this summer. And so if you're Chris Paul or his representatives, you walk into Robert Sarver's office and you say, you had 10 years of being the laughingstock of the league. Not only a terrible team, people will call you the worst owner in sports, worse than Jim Dolan, worse than Daniel Snyder, worse than any other name you can think of. I came in here, gave you legitimacy. I made you guys a winner. I took you to the cusp of a championship. Yes, we didn't deliver, but I did this. I changed the culture. Talk to all those players, 2 through 14 or 15. They'll all tell you what impact I had on them. I deserve every last penny of max, especially not just because I'm a great player and I did great things for you, but I'm the president of the players union, right? I set the market value. I can't take a cut. You guys have talked about that article that came out in Forbes a couple of weeks ago about Steve Ballmer paying less in taxes than LeBron James. The reality is these billionaires, these owners that Chris Paul goes up against every time in the collective bargaining agreements, these people live their entire lives skating, right? They skate on everything. You think when they get invited to a fancy restaurant, they're paying? No, they're comping that shit, right? So at every step of the way, they're getting deals and they're getting people bending over backward to help them. Chris Paul, as the president of the union and as a star player and as a guy who can actually point to say, I am responsible for your success. Yes, you were 8-0 in a bubble, but you were 25 and 8 million outside of the bubble. Why am I going to give Robert Sarver another break in life after all the breaks he's already had? And so there comes a time where Robert Sarver and James Jones have to sit down and say, Chris Paul is great. He's helped us a lot. Also, he's 36 years old. Can I commit to a $44, $45, $46 million a year contract that goes 3-4 years? That, by the way, because of the over 38 rule, is going to be hard to trade or do anything with down the line because the cap hit is different from the actual cash out. That's hard as well. So long story short, the Suns have a very tenuous summer in front of them where they got to figure out some things. And the two options seem to be pay a lot of money and then I got to be in a luxury tax immediately, or not pay money and risk messing up this positivity that we haven't had in over, a decade. Also, Orlando Tucker ain't walking through that door.
Well, I would also say in your age seasons of 35 and 36, what was Michael Jordan doing? Like Chris Paul is coming in here and asking for a contract. And meanwhile, we're talking about the GOAT status. Chris Paul's playing at age 36 and Michael Jordan wasn't. So if you're going into the Robert Sarver's office, you got to mention that too. Also, if the Suns didn't have to play game 6 with Scott Foster refereeing, I think the Suns win the championship.
Oh, I'm so sick of this shit.
Scott Foster with Chris Paul in his career, 2-16 win-loss record. Also, the against the spread win-loss record, I'm okay with. Like maybe he's not favored in those games. So what? But 2-16 against the spread for his career, Zach. Come on.
You want to know what his shooting percentage is in those 18 games?
Yeah.
48%. No,
38.5%.
That's not true.
I know.
That's
I made it up,
true.
but it sounded good. It sounded good.
And that's how memes start, by the way. Those memes that you see on Instagram where it's like a picture of Chris Paul and a very professional looking graphic saying shooting percentage in Scott Foster ref games, 38.3%. And people just run with that shit. I bet you someone's going to run with it from here today.
Can we marvel at something in terms of athleticism? Because I believe, Amin, we were talking earlier in this series about – we were talking earlier in the playoffs about the 5 guys in the league that you'd want to throw a lob to that are going to make the lob easiest. 2 of them were in this series. One of them you chose was DeAndre Ayton. I just want you to marvel at the idea that DeAndre Ayton, at his size, is ridiculously athletic. He is skilled. I now want you to have that body and look at it and say to you, that couldn't do anything with Giannis at all. And I now want you to imagine Ayton trying to play like Giannis, to play at the same. Like, do you realize how much more athletic Giannis has to be than that dude to have the skill set that he's got? And DeAndre Ayton looks pale athletically compared to Giannis Antetokounmpo.
So this is really interesting. If you go back and watch game 1 and even game 2, they had Ayton on Giannis. And Giannis's lateral mobility was so limited that Ayton was doing a great job. And everyone was talking about what a great defensive job. And what happened was, as the series wore on, Giannis became more and more like himself. And I believe game 4 is, even though game 4 was a game he only had 26 points, that was a game where I said, okay, he's moving laterally like before he got hurt. And at that point, it became impossible for Ayton to check him without getting in foul trouble. It's just too hard. The guy is 7 feet tall. He's strong, but also he moves side to side, not as quickly as a guard, but quicker than bigs. And Ayton, I think he played as well as he could possibly play in this series. His offense is almost entirely a diet of lobs and offensive rebounds and things happening created for him. And so I don't know what more we could ask from him offensively. Defensively, you ask him to extend up, verticality, chest to chest. But at some point, when Giannis does this long, exaggerated Euro step, he takes that right step this way, and you don't know if he's keep going that way or if he's coming back to the left. Man, it's unfair to ask a dude in his third year in the league and his first time in the playoffs to try to stop a two-time MVP from doing that.
And a finals MVP.
But they drafted him number 1, and he lucked out in that he matches up with Giannis. Like, this isn't play Ayton off of the floor. There are some matchups where he actually might be more vulnerable than this. And it just leads to, look, I want to make sure to couch this. I think DeAndre Ayton is a fantastic player. History may say he's right when he calls his draft class the greatest ever. But I am still so confused why they took him number 1 when they brought in the Slovenian national team head coach to coach that team, and they still go to DeAndre Ayton.
Mike, they could have won this series. They could have won this series in 4, like I said they would, or whatever. And it still would have been the wrong pick. DeAndre Ayton, I think, is a really good player. He's going to be a multiple-time All-Star. If he continues with his focus like he did this year, he'll be multiple-time All-NBA, All-Defensive team. That's great. Also, there was a greater player in his draft class that they had the inside track on, and they passed on. It's no different from the Rockets taking Olajuwon in '84 over Jordan. Olajuwon's great. Hall of Famer, 2-time champion. Also, not as good as that dude.
But
that's something...
How did that happen?
How does that happen? How does that happen?
Robert Sarver went to University of Arizona, and that's where DeAndre Ayton went.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Simple as that.
It.
Also, Ayton got eaten alive by Brook Lopez in the last 3 games of the series.
He tired out, man. And I also think the fact that he was playing drop coverage, essentially hanging back at the paint when Giannis was at the 3-point line, I think that was a big mistake because Giannis getting a full head of steam.
I'm with you.
DeAndre couldn't stay with him. Giannis was already at the rim by the time that DeAndre Ayton opened up his hips to stop him. It was way too late. And maybe that's because Giannis was healthier in the second half of that series. But, man, I think that was a mistake, playing that kind of strategy, giving him all that room to just basically go 0 to 100, and you can't do anything once he gets there.
Dan, we've had a lot of laughs at Brook Lopez's expense, but this is an amazing reshaping of the man's career. Coincidentally, I'm kind of curious if he has anything to say about Cuba, because Brook Lopez has some Cuban in him. So it'll be cool to see if he uses a platform for the SOS Cuba thing. But Brook Lopez looked like he would be evolved out of the sport, and then he turned into a real good 3-point shooter. And in this series, he was not a defensive liability. They were funneling Chris Paul directly to Brook Lopez, and Brook Lopez was making good things happen. Brook Lopez, how about that?
I've been telling the story across 10 years that every year, he's bounced around a lot. The Heat get a phone call, hey, you want Brook Lopez? No, thanks. Like, that's how it's gone every year. And so I did not have the Milwaukee Bucks winning the championship when they added Brook Lopez. I was a bit confused by everything that they were doing there. I saw that Tim Legler, I'm curious what you guys think of this. So Tim Legler says that Phoenix doesn't get here if the Lakers don't get hurt, don't get here if the Clippers don't get hurt, don't get here probably if Jamal Murray doesn't get hurt. But I don't think that you can do anything today to criticize the loser when the winner does that, when at the center of what the winning is being led by is a performance that we haven't seen. And I really don't understand how all of a sudden he became Larry Bird at the free throw line. Like, I don't understand what happened there.
Oh, Dan, you work with Stu Gatz. He is absolutely going to take out the lead, because here's the list of NBA players to blow 2-0 leads 4 times in the playoffs.
Oh my
Chris
God.
Paul. It's Chris Paul.
Who else, Mike? Hold on. I got other fingers. Are there any other guys?
Two of those, Blake Griffin got hurt halfway through this series. I mean, and then the other one was the Spurs in 2008.
Beat the Spurs.
By the way,
beat Tim Duncan in his prime when Chris Paul is 21 years old.
Memphis did it.
It's like, all right, so you want him to get swept. He's not part of that stat if he gets swept every series. Because he wins 2 games at the front of the series, now we have to use that against him. Is that what you're saying?
Win 4.
Well, I mean, and also 2-0 is a bit of a trick because I could hold the 3-1 against him against the Rockets in 2015.
He got beat by Josh Smith. He got beat by Josh Smith and Corey Brewer.
And I could hold the 3-2 against the Warriors against him. Granted, he got hurt in that one, so that one's a little.
Beat by Patrick McCaw and Alfonso McKinney. By the way,
Chris Paul's second best player is what? DeAndre Jordan in those series.
Also,
but Tom, here's the thing. You don't think Tom, you don't think all the great players who've gone up in 2-0 in a series in their careers has shitty teammates? You think Chris Paul's the only one who's been under these circumstances? That's the part that makes it stand out. It's like, if you're telling me that Chris Paul's
it's a sample size of 4. Like it's not like 15. It's a
only
sample
one that's ever done
how
that.
hard it is to do that shit,
also,
to be up 2-0 halfway to winning a series and lose anyway. You have any idea? I have an idea now.
Giannis was
It's
up 2-0.
very easy to explain. His teammates fell apart. He got injured. Portland, Chris Paul got hurt. Blake Griffin got hurt in the other series. And then if you want to throw him losing to San Antonio because they won 2 games against San Antonio, and we're using that as a reason to hate Chris Paul rather than championing him and being like, they won 2 games with that roster against San Antonio? What are we doing here?
Tim Legler's not walking through that door, Tom.
Giannis was up 2-0 in the conference finals in 2019 and they lost. And what did he do? He won a championship.
There you go.
Next year, Chris Paul will win a championship.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Is that a guarantee?
I didn't realize that Tom was such a homer for Chris Paul because they went to Forest together. I didn't realize.
You want to do that?
Say, don't let Ish Smith go to the NBA Finals. We'll never hear the end of it.
Yeah,
I have a question. Oh wait, go ahead, Tom. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say how many teams has Michael Jordan gone to the playoffs with? Because I'm pretty sure Ish Smith has more playoff teams on his resume than what LeBron. Michael Jordan has 1 Chicago Bulls. That's it. It's the only team he's ever taken to the playoffs. Ish Smith has multiple. Just gonna leave that there.
How many?
Did anyone understand what he was saying?
No, he really coded that one. That was a tough one right there.
What were you saying? You haven't been the same since you killed Michael Jordan's father.
Oh, we want to talk about killing parents here, Dan. Do we really want to do that?
Oh man, that's a good
joke. That's an inside joke, but a
Check
good
out South Beach sessions.
I'm laughing about it. It was a joke, but I think
Can it be an inside joke if
it was on a podcast? It's the most downloaded podcast.
Everybody heard.
I do think that Chris Paul, like, there aren't a lot of apologists out there, and so when I'm on like a little bit on Chris Paul's side, you kind of have to go all the way. Like, you can't just feel it.
You went to Wake Forest. We know your bias.
It's true. I mean, I don't know. You guys have a lot of pride in Miami and your Miami roots and the U and all this stuff. I don't think I should be disqualified from having pride from where I went to college or my roots either.
He's going to get crushed. He's going. I mean, it's Stugotz wins again. Like Stugotz wins again.
Oh my God!
It's
That's
amazing.
the takeaway. Stugotz got the perfect NBA playoffs. Everybody he doubts or throws daggers at, like, they ended up with an awful fate. Kevin Durant, Paul George, Chris Paul.
Who could have seen the Paul George one coming?
Hedo Turkle is not walking through that door.
I have a question. So remember when Ben Simmons scored 1 point and it was worse than scoring 0 points? Is scoring 50 in a closeout game better than scoring 51? Because he would have, if he makes that free throw, he's got 51. It doesn't look as nice to me.
I like 50 was nice. You wanted him to get to 50 and make it nice and round. 51 doesn't feel quite the same.
No, it's not as special. I don't know whether it would have made it to game score, but
Mike, would you do me a favor? I'm guessing. I just don't know how. I don't know off of the top of my head, and I'm afraid that if I try to start opening screens here, I'm going to lose everybody. I just want to know how many more rebounds in this series. Actually, Tom, this is your specialty with the numbers. How many more rebounds Pat Connaughton had than Brooke Lopez in this series?
Yeah, you don't want me opening up windows too. You don't want me opening up windows.
We'll give you time to chew on that while we debate whether or not Brandon Jennings is actually a Bucks legend, as the graphic said he was.
I mean, he is because he coined the phrase "Bucks in 6."
also most points by rookie. Most
I
points
think
by
his
Bucks
most
rookie.
legendary contribution to that franchise was getting traded for Chris Middleton.
I mean, that too.
Oh,
Brandon
Stan.
Brandon Knight
That's
too.
another bad
right?
one for Stan, by the way.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Although Jennings was playing well for Detroit and got hurt, so that's
Wait,
Stan-
hold on.
Stan-
Blood his
Stan-
Achilles.
I'm trying to think. Who did when he drafted in Detroit? There, he's got a couple of in
Stanley
Detroit.
Johnson.
Stanley
which
Johnson.
was the
man, I
same
believe.
draft. Stanley Johnson, I believe, was taken over Devin Booker, and Justice Winslow was also taken over Devin Booker. And Heat fans, you won that one. Devin Booker did not win the title, so we're Justice Better is still alive.
Is there also a Caldwell Pope drafting that he did that was bad? Do I have that wrong?
That one was pretty good. KCP was good, right?
One time, Stan
okay.
and I did a name the top 5 players who you've coached, the most 3-pointers made of any player you've coached in their careers under you, Stan. And he named the top 13, just like boom, 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 boom. The second highest name on the list was Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and he totally forgot it. Like the second most 3-pointers, he named 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He was like, man, I completely just forgot the KCP era.
He drafted Luke Kennard over Donovan Mitchell.
He also signed Brian Cook in 2014, and I didn't know Brian Cook was still playing basketball in 2014.
Pat Connaughton had 3 more rebounds than Brooke Lopez in this series.
It's funny.
I didn't want Connaughton to make that free throw at the end because I wanted him to have 0 points, because what a gutsy performance he had today. And his performance would have actually looked better with 0 points.
Minus 21 plus minus tonight. Big regression to the mean in the plus minus category for Pat Connaughton. 0 points, but some gutty rebounds for that Pat Connaughton. Real lunch pail kind of guy.
He drafted Henry Ellenson over Pascal Siakam.
Oh shit, man.
Mike, I just want to haunt you and your first round memories here by reminding you that in the first round it wasn't Connaughton, it was Bryn Forbes, who was never to be heard from again.
Never saw that guy again. Never saw that guy again.
How about that, man? How about that? That dude was on fire. I thought I was gonna say his name. Bryn Forbes sounds like a small liberal arts college in the Northeast.
Bryn Mawr.
I love that joke.
He says it every time we talk about Bryn Forbes.
I mean, because it literally shares the same first name of a college.
Can we talk for a second though about just all of the crazy in Portis's eyes? I don't think in the history of the league there's been a guy who gives off that much crazy in the eyes. And I don't remember who it is that said this, but it's perfect. He does look like every basketball player that an actor tries to be in the movies, because and it's the headband. I don't think it's just him. I think the headband is he looks like he's been typecast as the generic basketball player in a movie that doesn't chronicle basketball very well.
Undershirt.
Here's why. He looks like the kid in the "I touched the ball, coach" commercial.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's touch the ball, coach. It's a championship game. That's why. And he looks like that.
He is a made man. It was a great addition. He was beloved in New York. They were chanting his name at the Mecca. They were chanting his name in Milwaukee now, and he is going to forever be added to teams as a piece. Oh, this is a great locker room guy. Let's just bypass the fact that he broke a teammate's orbital bone once.
No, did you hear this? And Mirotic did an interview, I think it was last year, where he basically said, "Yeah, like that should change my view on the NBA."
It did.
He literally-
He
left.
Mirotic's career. Mirotic was a good player. He could he's not in the NBA anymore. Bobby Portis ended that man.
Also, Aaron Brooks ain't walking through that door. Aaron Brooks, who got traded for a first-round pick and Goran Dragic, and that first-round pick ended up getting traded to Chicago, and they took Niko Mirotic with that pick. So,
Ramil
Latino
Robinson?
game. Neil Robinson.
Ramil
No,
Robinson.
Rumil Robinson. not
Neil
Walker.
Robinson's not a real person.
No,
But you've had enough White Claws to believe that one.
I was
This
Gotta be a good
from
teammate.
Giannis, this was better than Shaq, right? This was Wilt territory.
so
Yeah.
Yes, so the 40, 10, and 5+ blocks hasn't been done since we started keeping track of blocks in the NBA Finals. That was in 1974. So technically, yes, Shaq, Kareem, all the great centers who played in the finals had not done this. Hakeem, Patrick Ewing, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, the only person that we can think of that would have those kind of numbers would have been pre that, and it would have been either Mikan or Wilt.
Well, he 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 62% shooting in the finals. The entire series, 35, 12, 5, and 62%. That's insane. That's up there with the best of all time. My thing is, like, Mike Budenholzer, if he had lost this game, let's just say they lose this game and then they lose the series, do they bring him back as head coach? Like
right.
what Mike Budenholzer did in this series. Well done. Well done, Coach Bud.
He should still be fired. I mean, come on. What are we doing? Like,
That would be great, Zach. If they
I
did
support this
they
take.
did it tomorrow.
Do it tomorrow.
If
I
they're
support
like,
this
you know,
take.
you know what? No, Bud, out of here.
You know what?
Did it
They
inside of you.
halfway through the parade, they should fire him. Halfway through the parade.
You guys have it happening at the parade. I have it in the locker room right now as Bud reaches for some champagne. Like, actually, Bud, can I talk to you here for a second? They pull him aside. He's still got his hand on the cork. It's still uncorked. And he's got his goggles on.
Meanwhile,
he's got his.
What if it's before he's asked to speak at the ceremony? Like Rachel Nichols or whoever it is giving the microphone to him. Robert Sarver grabs the mic. It's like, hey, you know what? I need to go talk to you right before the microphone gets to him.
Wait,
That's great spot.
Are you drinking too? Because Robert Sarver does not own the Milwaukee Bucks. Also, Don Boosie doesn't walk through that door.
Tom's having a rough time. He's having a rough time.
I know
today.
the microphone's going in and out. I'm thrown off. Then the whole murdering parents thing. Yeah,
you haven't been the same since then. I was really rooting for Middleton to not get those last couple of points so that the second leading scorer for the Bucks could be Bobby Portis in that game, and we'd have that box score forever. Giannis 50, second leading scorer Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton a million rebounds.
Really quick, I want to address something that is actually said in the chat here. Somebody said, Americano 55 says, why do we still hand the microphone to the owners? Can we talk about that for real? And I'm gonna tell you this. Look, I am no friend to billionaires. Most billionaires hate me. Imagine that. Imagine knowing that the majority of billionaires who know you don't like you. That's the space I occupy. But if you are the one footing the bill for all that shit, and for the most part, you're staying out of the way, like Mark Lazary and Wes Edens have done for the Bucks, yeah, I think you get to get the trophy first. Like that's the payoff for paying everybody here and the building and the employees and all that stuff. And I get it. These people get tax breaks and they fly to space and come back and pop champagne and all that shit. But at the end of the day, I do believe that if you're a good owner, you deserve to have that trophy first. The only person I can think of that did not deserve to get that trophy first was Dan Gilbert. Fuck out of here.
100%.
Fuck out of here. You should have been last in line behind goddamn J.R. Smith's shirtlessness and whatever scrub they had at the end of the bench. Who I can't remember. Oh, it's Kendrick Perkins. Or was it Kendrick Perkins? No, it wasn't Kendrick Perkins. But the point being, like,
You really got lost in that thicket.
What
there was
happened
no
there?
there? You just got lost in the thicket of trying to analyze the end of the Cavs bench that broke your heart when they 5 years ago when you had your most recent terrible echoing across the eternities prediction.
Which one would you rank as worse, Dan? How about
This one's worse.
This one is worse?
This one's worse.
I said LeBron was done being a primary player, and you think this one was worse?
No, hey, don't think that one's not bad, my friend. This is not to say, whoa, that one is very good. I love that one. No, that's how bad this one was because you didn't think that team belonged in the finals. In fact, I don't even understand the way that you reversed course when you were explaining to me after last year when the Heat eviscerate the Bucks, and then the Bucks go this year and they eviscerate the Heat back. You were of the belief, no, the Bucks are that much better than the team that made it to the finals last year that beat them in 5 games. They deserve to sweep the Heat. And then 2 games in against the Suns, you decide to change your mind and reverse course.
Well, because Dan, I'm gonna be honest with you. What happened between the end of the Heat series and the beginning of the finals was the Bucks reverted back to their old ways. They didn't play the same. If you watch the way they played against the Heat, the ball movement, the lack of heliocentricity around Giannis, the Bryn Forbes. They didn't play like they did in past years. They seem to have learned from their mistakes and spread the ball and play a lot smarter. Then they play against the Nets. And they went all the way back. It's almost like they got shell-shocked by how good the Nets were and decided, muscle memory, let's go back to just giving Giannis the ball 23 feet away from the basket and let him go to work. And I do believe if the Nets don't have the injuries they have, they win that series.
Can anyone here define for me what a lack of heliocentricity is? I don't think that anyone is analyzing this particular sport with that phrase. I don't hear it a lot. So am I ignorant?
But
it's casual.
It sure as shit was more eloquent than he's been.
Yeah, if my mic's working, I can explain. Heliocentricity is just a guy who does everything for your offense. That's what it is. It's the sun revolving around the sun.
Helio star centricity, centric, so star centric, meaning they gave him the ball and everybody get out of the way and just let him do everything. Kind of like what they did in Game 6, by the way, which again makes me just fucking want to bash my head against the wall because they won playing the dumbest style of simple ass basketball.
We're
and
back.
all Chris Paul has to do is not be garbage just once in his life.
I thought heliocentricity was there we go. I thought heliocentricity was where Giannis played in Greece. That's what I thought.
Let's talk about the fact that Mike Budenholzer, the biggest adjustment that he made this year to last year is he just played Giannis more. How about that for a hot take?
That's not the biggest adjustment he made.
Play Giannis 40 minutes a night instead of 30 minutes a night. That is a pretty big adjustment.
Here are the three biggest adjustments.
As Todd Day doesn't walk through that door, Zach, go.
3 biggest adjustments Mike Budenholzer made. Kyrie Irving landed on Giannis's foot. James Harden was fat all year and his hamstring gave out. Trae Young stepped on a referee's foot. Those are the 3 biggest adjustments.
Wait, did Dante DiVincenzo didn't get hurt?
The Italian?
He didn't get hurt?
Oh my god! Oh my goodness!
And Giannis's leg didn't go like this.
Oh, Budenholzer.
But Giannis's leg doesn't look like a character from The Arrival. If
we could point to Giannis's injury could have ruined their season, but now we're gonna say they're lucky.
It never gets to that point if they have more than 1 1/3 star in Brooklyn.
You want a hot take? You want a hot take? Giannis doesn't get hurt, they don't win the championship.
Wow, a walk-off.
Yeah, but he's not. It's kind of like a.
Wait, can you explain that?
Yeah, what?
Take the walk-off.
If Giannis doesn't get hurt, they don't win the title.
It made Giannis a better player?
Here's the bad thing: is I completely agree with him. This is 100%.
Well, defend the position.
It changed the way Giannis played. Giannis started playing like a big man. He didn't start doing all this all this bullshit on the perimeter where I'm Kobe Bryant and watch me cook and everything. He had to play as a big man.
Guarding him.
What?
He did when Kaminsky was guarding him.
And how'd that end up? Plus minus of 0. Plus minus a 0 right there. But no, it forced him to play like a big man. And when he plays like a big man, there's nothing you can do. Literally, you have to hope that leg snaps. It's the only thing you can do.
Yo,
No.
by the way, I just want to throw this out there really quick. The Stugats is very strong in the late, great Kobe Bryant. Because this dude, he blessed Devin Booker with Be Legendary. And he blessed Giannis with go win a championship. And so either way, we were going to have a Kobe narrative where Kobe Bryant inspired this team to win a championship. Thanks, Kobe. Thanks from heaven. Also, going to throw this out there really quick. No, I just want to throw this out there. It's a Smush Parker ain't walking through that door.
Yeah, we can't really be throwing stones at Kobe Bryant now, can we?
I didn't throw a stone. I just said, yo, that's
Yeah.
Remember when Ben McLemore asked on Twitter for his challenge and it never came. It never came.
Never came.
Yeah.
I know we gloss over what Tom said, but that was a real storyline from when the Heat beat the Bucks last season. It was puzzling that Budenholzer wasn't playing Giannis, and Giannis did get injured in that series despite the fewer minutes. And people were pointing to that, even though that series went far beyond just a Giannis injury. Budenholzer did make a famous adjustment that everybody was clamoring for, and it was simple: play arguably the best player on the planet more.
How do you guys imagine for real? I understand that professional athletes are confident. You have to climb over the top 1% of the top 1%, and it's a fight with the inner cities for money to get to the top of that sport. I want you guys to tell me what you think sweeps through, what kind of horror sweeps through Kaminsky when Giannis is in front of him and he's like, okay, it's Wilt. I've got Wilt, and he can dribble, and he's going to go to the basket here. And Ayton can't do anything with him, but me and these cinder blocks I have for feet. You watch what is sweeping through him as this is happening, and he is being entrusted with the precious Suns minutes in an elimination game.
Here's what's sweeping through him: urine that's ready to go down his leg. That's what's sweeping through him. Like, that's the only, and then you just hope that you're not gonna piss yourself on national TV. You hope that you can just hold it. That's the only thing you can do is just pray that you don't wet yourself.
And hopefully that urine grosses Giannis out to the point that he's like, if I drive the lane, I'll turn an ankle. So I'll do what ended up happening, which is settle for a bad 3-point attempt, and Frank Kaminsky wins the day.
Oh my God. He was so terrified of Frank the Tank there.
Yeah. Wisconsin legend, ranking Wisconsin legends. It's Frank 1, Giannis 2.
All right, let's put a bow on this, because we've given this finals a lot of attention for a show that said it wasn't a very interesting finals. I should point out, is this a transitional champion, or is this a budding dynasty now that they have Giannis locked up and they have the core of this team locked up? Or do they just fade off in the distance if the Nets somehow get healthy?
If the Philadelphia 76ers get Damian Lillard and pair him with Joel Embiid, I'm going to take them over the Milwaukee Bucks next season.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of things that can change from here till the opening tip next season. So I don't think that the Milwaukee Bucks have a clear person or a team that they're looking at and saying, that's the better team going into next season. But wait until the Damian Lillard trade scenario that settles before we start talking about Milwaukee Bucks bringing a dynasty, because Damian Lillard is that good.
I don't know. Excuse me. Hakeem Warwick's not walking through that door. I don't know if they're a dynasty, but I will point out that this is a team that has been knocking on championship door for 3 years now, right? 2019. They were up 2-0 in the series and up big in game 3. They win that game 3. Yeah. It's a wrap for Toronto. They go to the finals. Golden State crumbles under
It's hard. Protocol. When you go up 2-0, it's hard, man. It's really hard. So close out the series. It's really hard.
It's not like the Suns. The Suns were 10 years out of the playoffs, and then they go to finals their first year back in the playoffs. Never happened in the history of the NBA. That if they had won, I would say transitional. But for me, the Bucks are like the Pistons back in the late 80s, early 90s, right? They were the team that was knocking on the door, and bullshit would happen, and they'd shoot themselves in the foot, and they'd lose, and then they finally won one, and then they won another one, and then they went to another conference finals after that. So I think the Bucks are right there. They're a great team, even if Brooklyn's healthy, even if Damian Lillard gets traded to Philadelphia. I'm not saying that makes the Bucks the favorites. I'm just saying it's not like, thanks for the memories and keep it moving. Gani Lawal is not walking through that door, by the way.
Keep in mind, the last three champions both swung, all three of them swung for the fences with a big trade and won the title. You look at Anthony Davis last year, Drew Holiday this year, and the year before that, Kawhi Leonard. So if you're Daryl Morey in Philadelphia, or if you're another team, Dallas, and you're looking at Damian Lillard, do I push all the chips to the middle to get that guy? Recent history suggests, yes, you absolutely need to. When your championship window is open, you have to go get a Damian Lillard, because the last three champions all did that, trying to trade for a star player, and look what happened.
I got the Nets. Like, I think the Nets are as good as anybody. I get the whole thing about defense or anything, but we saw that when that team is even marginally healthy, how dangerous they are, and they just need a little bit more. Like, if Spencer Dinwiddie was back, they win that series, right? Like, if they didn't have, no offense to Mike James, but they didn't have Mike James out there, they win that series. And so I just think that, look, it's not great to bank on the health of Kyrie Irving, and James Harden may be at a point after all those minutes and all those games throughout his Houston tenure that he could be on the bad side of breaking down. But I just think the Nets, like, I'll take Kevin Durant and a bunch of dudes against anybody and live with my chances.
But what if I told you that Andrew Lang wasn't going to walk through that door? Would that change your mind, Zach?
Well, is Sean Respert going to walk through that door?
Oh my God, Michigan State legend Sean Respert.
Sean Respert.
My close personal friend Sean Respert.
I think that's how we should. I think that's how we should end right there. The big night from Giannis Antetokounmpo, perfect bow on the evening. I mean, just the punctuation for a historic performance. My close personal friend Sean Respert. Excellent work by you.
All-time leading scorer. All-time leading scorer in Big Ten history.
That's not true. That can't be true.
It is true. Look it up.
There I go.
Look it up.
I'm not gonna.
It's gotta be Evan Turner.
No, Google it right now. I want. Let this be my worst take. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, this will be my worst take.
All-time leading scorer in
Big Ten history.
Sean Respert.
Sean Respert.
There's no way.
Calbert Cheney.
I mean, they played at the same time. Like,
horseshit.
Not even as.
End it. Can't top that.